Hi, this is James again. By request, we are going to write a function that determines if an array is consecutive or not. So we won't deal with all error cases. We will do sort of the semi-happy path here. As the lessons progress, we will begin to deal with more error cases. But for this case here, we just want to see what our basic plan and/or algorithm is to determine if this array is consecutive. So what is consecutive? Consecutive means that one element, in this case, is one more than the other element, right? They only differ by one. So 2 is 1 greater than 1, 3 is 1 greater than 2, 4 is 1 greater than 3, and 5 is 1 greater than 4. We will not deal with the reverse case because we could simply just sort the array and make it ascending, and then the same function that we are about to create would indeed work. So my plan is to write a function that simply determines if the element and the next element differ by 1 in ascending order. So I am going to use a function to do that. All right, I'm going to have some array that's passed here, and again, I'll use a control variable, a Boolean variable, to control my for loop. I plan to use a for loop just because that's what just came to mind now. Basic error checking. Again, we don't really get into a lot of error checking, but we will as we progress. So I want to determine if the array is undefined. Save ourselves some time if the array is undefined, and then simply bail out of the function here. If the array is not undefined, I want to use a for loop. So var I equals 0. I is less than array length minus 1 I plus plus. So you might wonder why in this particular case we do array length minus 1. Well, if I'm determining the next element, if I want to determine if the next element is 1 more than the previous element, when I get to the last element there is no 1 more. So once I get to 4, and in this particular case, if I determine that 4 is 1 less than 5, then I'm done. There is no next element, so we don't want to go all the way to the end. We want to go to 1 less than the end. So my basic algorithm is check if the current element plus 1 is equivalent to the next element. So let's simply do that. So if array sub I plus 1, so if the current element that I am on in this for loop plus 1, let's use not equal. So if the current element I'm on here, let's say that's array sub 0, that value is 1, plus 1, which is 2, is not equal to my next element, array I plus 1, which is array sub 1, that's going to be 2. Right? So I'm going to go through the loop and I'm going to compare these, and if they are not equal, I'm going to set is consecutive to false. I'm going to end this if condition. No need to continue in the for loop. You don't have to use a break here. Some people are opposed to using a break in a loop, and in many cases I am. You could simply put the condition to check up here in your conditional statement here. So you could say if this condition and is consecutive, so you can be true, right? You could do that. But in this case, we'll keep it very simple. In the for loop, in the function, now I want to call it. So let's do something very simple here. I'm going to pass our array from the top, and very simplistically we should have a function that works here, right? So let's review before we run it so we know exactly what's going to happen here. Set my control variable here on line 7 to true. Basic error checking, nothing brilliant, to make sure the array is not undefined. I'm going to loop through the actual array up to the second to the last element. If the current element that I'm on plus 1, that value, is not equal to the next one, then I know it's not consecutive. I say consecutive is false. I break and I will return false. If that remains true, we never change this variable to false, and we should print out true there. So let's see here. And we have an error. So what is this? Not equal. So let's do this here. Okay, let's run it again. That's not good. What are we missing here? Should be boom, boom, boom. Oh, I see. So undefined. How the heck are we? Consecutive is. Okay, so we don't return anything here. So we want to return is consecutive. That's what happens when you write code live. So we go here. So we return true because our array is consecutive. Let's change one of these values to say 6. Let's run it again. And it's false. So very simplistically, we have sort of is consecutive, basically a brute force algorithm. But for our purposes, it actually works. One of the things in JavaScript, you want to make sure you don't trick yourself. What happens if the array is actually in descending order? So this is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. One would think that you could simply sort the array function, and you could. But as we know in JavaScript, sort assumes a string. So it will sort your array based on strings unless you write a compare function. We will deal with that in a different lesson. But what you would want to do here, sort of the idea is if your array is in descending order, then you would sort it in ascending order, and so that this array still worked and all of the logic should continue to be the same. So that concludes the lesson. Hope you enjoyed.